Now, from Wichita's most listened to sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH. This is Sports Daily with Jacob Albrecht and Tommy Kester.
And good morning, everybody. Good morning, Chiefs fans here on Sports Daily as the Chiefs make their move in the early morning hours. It was a very interesting day. We'll dig into it all. Jacob Albrecht, Tommy Castor here with you. The IHOP hotline is open. Your reaction as the Chiefs add DeAndre Hopkins. You can call us at 869-1240. That's the IHOP hotline where you can celebrate the weekdays, new IHOP house faves, all your favorites, just $6 Monday through Friday. You can also leave us your video comments if you're watching us. 12 News Connected, Facebook, YouTube, X, all the different ways. If you were listening to us on the Odyssey app, you're on the go that way. You can hit the little microphone and send us a voice message on what you think about that trade. Happy Hawaiian Shirt Wednesday. Tommy continues to bring down the vibe here on a Hawaiian Shirt Wednesday, but that's okay. We can be party of one today, and that's what we'll do. So thanks everybody who's joined the movement, but not Tommy because he's a fun hater.
Hey, honestly, I don't do the show on Wednesdays an awful lot, and I can tell you with full honesty, I simply forgot that it was Hawaiian Shirt Wednesday.
I don't believe you.
If I get into the routine of, being on the show on Wednesdays typically, then that might change. But it's, not really a regular thing, at least in my world. And so, yeah, just simply forgot.
I don't believe you. I am pulling out some old ones. I'm trying to make it as long as I can without a repeat.
How many do you own? Because I thought you maybe owned like 2 or 3.
Oh, no. It's like, it's at least 10 or 12.
Wow.
This one, I believe this one was Honeymoon a decade ago. One of my originals. It's not as, vibrant, but this is straight from Hawaii. So there you go. Rick says good for you, Tommy.
Thank you, Rick.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate the support.
Whatever. Fun haters. So the Chiefs make their move overnight, and it makes sense. For the third straight year now, they trade for a wide receiver midseason. And they, it's been a position that has been interesting for them since Tyreek Hill left. But since Tyreek Hill left, they've won a couple Super Bowls. They can't quite get where they want to be with it. This year, though, it's probably for a very different reason. It's because of injury. They attacked the position in the offseason very aggressively. But, Tommy, I maintain what I've been saying now for 2 or 3 weeks, especially this week. They had to do something. Like, I don't think you can watch the rest of the AFC shift and do what it's doing, especially watch Baltimore in the way it's really clicking and just it's like there's just no need to not go try to do something. And so yesterday we get all the rumors of Cooper Kupp and I think that got people excited, but that never made a lot of sense other than stylistically. Stylistically, it would have made a whole lot of sense, but he's older, he's injury prone, he's going to cost you a lot of money, and he's going to cost you a lot as far as a draft pick. That one to me, I was like, I don't think they're going to be. And Diana Rossini's reporting this morning that they tried to get Cooper Kupp, but they couldn't get the Rams to do what they needed to do to make it work. So you go down the list and you get a player of about the same age, who's also injury prone, who's been a Pro Bowler in this league, borderline Hall of Fame player, and you hope for the best. But the reality is they don't need him to do a whole lot. They really don't need him to do more than what he's done with Tennessee with DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, it's just, is he better than Sky Moore? Check. Is he better than McCole Hardman? Check. Is he better than Watson? As much as I like Watson, check. Like he instantly comes in, and if Juju misses time, is your most gifted wide receiver on the roster. They had to do something, and this didn't cost them much at all.
Well, even if Juju doesn't miss time, Hopkins comes in as the most gifted receiver.
He is, but I'm not going to sit here right now and say he's a better stylistic fit for what the Chiefs need than what Juju is, because stylistically, Juju's exactly what they need that position to do.
Look, it takes a really big man to come in on this show and say that he was wrong. And look, I was wrong. I could have easily ran away and said, look, I'm not doing the show today, or tried to explain it away. I was wrong. I didn't think Brett Veach would do anything. I've been preaching that on this program for weeks now, that don't get your hopes up, Chiefs fans. don't get your expectations too high, because I just didn't think that it would be a move that Veach would make. I really truly believed that even if Juju missed time, that the Chiefs would lean on some of the guys that they have farther down on the depth chart, right or wrong. That's kind of what I thought that they would do. I thought that they would potentially sign one of the guys off the practice squad, whether that was Justin Ross or Remigio or somebody like that, to bring them in to get reps in the starting lineup or in the depth chart. I really truly thought that that would happen. And at the most, I thought that they would either make an inconsequential trade, or they would maybe go to free agency and try to pick somebody up off the street. And I was wrong. Brett Veach surprised me again. And I think the reason why I was so down on the idea that he would do that was because of the results of the Kadarius Toney trade a couple of years ago. And not that Mecole Hardman was bad by any means, but that was an inconsequential move ultimately too in season last year. Of course, don't forget like what those guys did to contribute.
They each contributed. That's what I was going to say. Like
they
weren't as good as you'd hoped to get there, but if you look back at those Super Bowls, those are two meaningful players to the Super Bowls.
100%. But what I'm talking about is in the context of the overall season and all of that. Both of those guys were duds when they were traded to Kansas City mid-season. And so I really didn't think that Veach would want to go down that path again and give up draft capital to do so. I really, truly didn't think that that would happen. What's interesting about DeAndre Hopkins is that there's been rumblings in the past that he wanted to end up in Kansas City. Yeah. I mean, that's not an uncommon thing. A lot of wide receivers want to play with Patrick Mahomes, but that he wanted to go to Kansas City, that the Chiefs were interested. They just couldn't get it figured out. And I remember that, what was it, 2 off seasons ago, when there was a lot of smoke that he was ultimately going to sign with the Chiefs. But, you know, the Titans offered him the kind of money that he wanted. And so he went to Tennessee, and nobody could blame him. He's in a position now where while he may not be in his prime anymore, he still is a valuable and productive wide receiver. There's been a decline the older that he's gotten. Sure, the guy's 32 years old, but he still has quite a bit of gas left in the tank. And, you know, again, this is a really savvy move by Brett Veach. And I will sit here and admit that I was flat out wrong in what I thought Brett Veach would do.
The reality is their choice in the matter. That's like, when Juju missed the game and it's soft tissue for an older player, I think their choice in the matter just was flat taken away from them. They didn't have much of a choice but to try to do something. This is a move that's not going to cost them much money. It's not going to cost them much draft capital, a 4th-round pick at worst. Tennessee, according to reports, going to eat about half of the $5.5 million left on the deal this year. But what I would say is, take more away from the fact that if you believe the reporting that the Chiefs really wanted to try to get Cooper Kupp in here, and I think that they did, and I think the reporters reporting that are very good at what they do, I think that tells you the urgency that exists for the Chiefs this year. They're not going to sit around and just say, oh, we're 6-0, everything's okay, when they can pay closer attention and realize what that 6-0 is and what's moving forward on this roster. Remember, too, it's not just the wide receiver trades that Veach has been willing to make. Frank Clark was a very risky and expensive trade that, if you look at the total body of work, he absolutely did not live up to what they gave up to get him in the contract. But he also absolutely helped them win Super Bowls. You could say the same thing about Orlando Brown. Was he the quality of player over the total body of work that they gave up what they gave up to get him? No. Did he help them win a Super Bowl? Sure he did. On a smaller scale, then, you go to Kadarius Toney, and on an even smaller scale than that, you go to Mecole Hardman last year when they brought him in. And they just, like, it's one of the things I really appreciate about the Chiefs, excuse me, is they protect what they have now. They protect the future, but they're not afraid to take risks. And they have the players and the coaches that allow the freedom to do that, right? It doesn't, they draft well enough that they can afford to give up a 4th-round pick, or if it would have been a 3rd-round pick, hell, even a 2nd-round pick. Like, but they didn't want to give up the higher round picks because they know we may not be able to sign Trey Smith this offseason. Looks like they probably won't be able to, so we may have to replace him. Like, they've got a lot of moving parts there. And this move makes sense. It makes more sense to me than Cooper Kupp, for sure, at the price. Is Cooper Kupp a better player if they're both healthy than DeAndre Hopkins? Yes, he is right now in their career.
Well,
He for sure
Kupp is currently, dealing with injuries that have kept him out of games.
He is expected back this week.
Yeah. So, I mean, and there's a little bit of unknown there, of exactly how productive he can be and will be, if he's not 100%. I think that, going back to, you mentioned Frank Clark, and you can probably lump Orlando Brown into that as well with the investment that they made at that position and with Frank Clark. I've said it before. In my mind, the difference with those was that was the offseason, and Brett Veach, in my opinion, and I think any general manager would prefer to be on the offensive, right? Like they would like to go out and try to make something happen in the offseason when, it's not where time is not really of the essence quite as much, where your backs are not up against a wall. And I felt like with Kadarius Toney and Mecole Hardman, when those trades happened, they were like backs up against the wall, necessity, we need a wide receiver. Same thing with this year. And I just kind of thought Brett Veach didn't really want to be put in that position again. We've talked a lot about, are the Chiefs comfortable playing the way that they have been? And I think the answer is yes.
They are.
I was just of the opinion that they thought, you know what, with as great of a defense as we have, with our running game being solid, with Isaiah Pacheco expected back in a handful of weeks or however long that is, let's roll with what we have. A bunch of tight ends and wide receivers, and we'll make it work at wide receiver. That's really what I truly thought they would do. Doesn't mean I'm down on this trade. I think it's great.
No.
When I woke up this morning, it did surprise me because that wasn't what I thought they would do.
Nobody's going to be down on this trade. It makes a lot of sense. And they didn't choose for their backs to be against the wall. Their backs are against the wall. They're 6-0, but that doesn't mean that they're not, and desperate is not the right word, but their backs are against the wall. I think
proactive is a good word to use.
Like you don't need to just sit still. There's no need to do that.
I will say though, I still think that they could have won the Super Bowl without DeAndre Hopkins.
I do too.
Right?
But why take the risk if you don't have to? And that's what we'll get into when we come back. I agree. I think they absolutely could have too. I just don't think it was necessary to do it that way. We'll come back. We'll talk about the trade. What kind of fit is Hopkins? How has he been this year if you haven't been watching the Titans? All of that coming. Shreya Slaughter, our KU insider, joins us at the bottom of the hour. He's going to help look ahead to the big Sunflower Showdown this weekend, which is certainly becoming more interesting, the way KU's been able to play, at least on offense, the last couple of weeks. So we'll get into that. Your calls, your comments, lots of fun stuff coming on the show today. A whole lot more, quite frankly, on this trade, and we'll get into it all. We had Bronny last night. Were you in? Did you like it? We'll discuss it all on Sports Daily on a Wednesday. Happy Hawaiian Shirt Wednesday. We'll be right back.
A mourning widow sells her husband's car trying to move on, but the checks came back in his name.
How do they expect him to cash this check?
Looking for answers, fact finder Brandon Stitt went to the Department of Revenue. A proposed energy plan that threatens Kansas landowners, meaning some families could lose their homes.
My land is not for sale. Others' land is not for sale. Our lifestyle is not for sale.
12 News took their concerns to Senators Marshall and Moran. When you need answers, turn to the fact finders for help. Right. Start your day with 12 News this morning. Get ready with Jake's accurate hour-by-hour forecast, so you'll know if you need a jacket when you walk out the door or an umbrella by lunch. Start your day knowing what happened overnight and what's happening now. Live, breaking news all morning long. And plan the best route to work and school with traffic from across Kansas. Start your day right. Start your day with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSEW.
Hey, Wichita, Jim Rome here, celebrating over 25 years as the #1 midday sports talk show on Wichita Radio. Find out why. Tune into The Jungle, weekdays 11 until 2 on 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With more than 25 flavors, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day for half-price cups of tea. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
Clouds are not just the canvas of our imagination. They tell a story. clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
When you need help, remember, you're not alone. We are here. We are neighbors. We are together. We are Kansas. We are 12 News.
They say it takes a village. Come together and support local businesses in our neighborhoods. When you contribute to local shops, more money goes back into the economy. Shopping local makes our state stronger. So give back to the communities you love and watch our businesses and communities thrive. Shop local and be Kansas proud.
At 12 News, we know you're busy, which is why we're here whenever you need us. Anytime, any screen. With live breaking news.
Critically hurt after an apartment.
Storm Team 12 forecast.
Snowing for many miles.
And the stories you don't want to miss.
The scene's still very active.
Just search KWCH 12 News wherever you stream and catch up on the latest news of the day. All for free and on your schedule, hopefully making your day a little bit easier. And did I mention the Storm Team 12 forecast? 12 News whenever you want.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With more than 25 flavors, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day for half-price cups of tea. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
Determining fact from fiction. That's our full-time job.
You need to have someone give you the whole story from every side.
To help you when no one else is listening.
You need someone to put you first.
That's what we do.
We bring you the facts first.
When you need it.
Wherever you are.
12 News. Facts first.
All right, welcome back in, everybody. Mornings at KFH. Staff enjoys a great cup of coffee from Prairie Fire Coffee. Appreciate that, their support of the program. So the Chiefs make their move. DeAndre Hopkins in his game. Remember, he was hurt early in the year. At least he was nicked up. I think he did end up playing the first couple games, but he was hobbled. So we'll just look at the last four. He didn't do anything against Buffalo. Nothing. Or catch for -2 yards. But before that, he had caught 6, 2, and 4 passes. 73, 31, 54 yards. The reality is, to me, Tommy, the Chiefs really don't need him to do much more than catch 3 or 4 balls a game. I don't think DeAndre Hopkins is going to come in and be the target monster that Rashee Rice / Juju Smith-Schuster light could be. Don't think that's what Hopkins is going to do, but he certainly upgrades the room in some capacity. And I think Andy Reid can work with that for sure. I also don't think the Chiefs are necessarily done. I think they probably are. But again, what I love about this, and now clearly we can see a path here, is that the Chiefs they're not satisfied at just being 6-0 when you see everything else that's happening around that 6-0. All the injuries, all the things. If you can still bring in Demarcus Robinson for basically nothing, go bring in Demarcus Robinson, because you've got to get better than Sky Moore, right? Like at some point, yeah, probably Juju comes back. Maybe Rashee Rice and Hollywood Brown come back. It's a good problem to have. Just if you can, why be satisfied, especially this year? And I think that's something to pay attention to before the trade deadline. Probably more likely that they're done, but I don't think it's a foregone conclusion. And I would bet money Brett Veach is not finished making calls. So DeAndre Hopkins is a good fit because he's more talented than a lot of the guys in the room, Tommy. But I don't think, like, stylistically, he's stepping into that, getting 8 or 9 targets a game. Maybe he does, but he hadn't been that player in a very long time.
Well, see, I actually do disagree with you a little bit. I think he will be more of a target monster than what he has been over the last few years in his career. And that's because of necessity, really. I mean, there isn't another receiver, probably, I guess, on the depth chart right now outside of Justin Watson. From a wide receiver only perspective, there are, obviously Travis Kelce and, tight ends and that sort of thing, but that will garner the kind of targets like Xavier Worthy, I think, in an ideal world would do that, but he's still developing his game to a point where I don't think you can expect that consistently week in and week out. One thing about DeAndre Hopkins, whether he's 32 or 24, he can not only go up and get the ball and work the sideline, but he's been probably equally as good working the middle of the field over the course of his career. And so it's not just a throw the ball up, jump ball type situation with DeAndre Hopkins. He can 100% do that. He's done that throughout the course of his career. But his game is a lot more layered than that. And I think that, a lot of it's going to hinge on how quickly he can get up to speed with the Chiefs offense. And we would talk about that regardless who the new receiver is, just because of a lot of the way that Andy Reid runs that offense. And just, there's a lot of misdirection and moving parts and, things like that. Hopkins is a pro. He's been around for a long time. He hasn't played in that system before.
Yeah, it's
might take him a minute to get up to speed on that. But I think assuming that he can, I do think he'll be somewhat of a target monster just because of his ability to work all areas of the field.
So I'm going to just look at the last 2 games here. And against the 49ers, the target monster was actually Worthy. He didn't do much with it, but he had 8 targets in that game. He was the guy that sort of filled the Juju role, not effectively. Against the Saints, when you look at it, it was Juju and honestly, it was Kelce too. Remember, that was the big Kelce game. But the wide receivers, it's all and it's been this way if you go all the way back to last year. It's sort of one of the wide receivers works in tandem with the tight ends. And I think that's what they want to do. But more than anything, what the Chiefs want to do is we get a video yesterday of Isaiah Pacheco on the treadmill already, is they want to run the ball. And so no matter what they do here, they're leaning into their defense and they're leaning into the strength of this team, which is the interior offensive line. And if they get Isaiah Pacheco back, they may run the ball even more because Kareem Hunt's also not just going to go away. They just don't need much, but as much as anything else, for me, especially over the last couple of weeks, they have to prepare for the inevitability and pay attention to the roster this year. They're just like, we're going into week 8. What are the chances there aren't more injuries, right, to wide receiver? So you're being proactive here, which is why I like all of this so much and why I thought they would do it. Because, you're down this many. Like, who's to say DeAndre Hopkins makes it all the way through, or Mecole Hardman, or anybody else? The way this season's going, I think you almost count more on that other guys are going to go down. So you're just giving Andy Reid more quality options to shove in there if and when that ultimately happens. That's what makes this smart. You are trying to predict the future with it. And the future is hard to predict this year without considering there are going to be more players that get hurt. I mean, they just like it's been insane how many injuries they've had this year already.
Yeah, I mean, you always need to have that in the back of your mind, that things can happen in a split second. But here's the thing about DeAndre Hopkins. You said he hasn't been a target monster in a long time. A year ago at Tennessee, he averaged 8 targets a game. And so he played every single game. He was 1,000-yard receiver, had 7 touchdowns. He averaged over 8 targets a game. And so he was targeted a ton last season at age 31 with the quarterbacks that the Titans
really
had
good last year.
Right. And so it was kind of a little bit of a resurgence. Now this year it's been different because you've gone from, a combination of Ryan Tannehill and Will Levis to Will Levis and Mason Rudolph. And so it's been a downgrade. It really got worse than what it was a year ago. And it was pretty bad a year ago, but he managed a 1,000-yard receiving campaign with Ryan Tannehill and Will Levis as the quarterbacks for the Titans. Right.
I sent you a really funny tweet. Somebody, pray for DeAndre Hopkins, goes from Will Levis to the quarterback leading the league in interceptions. Couldn't get any worse. I thought that was really funny. Look, if he's able to come in and supplant Juju Smith-Schuster in filling in for Rashee Rice, that's an absolute best case scenario. I mean, and it could happen for sure. He's DeAndre stinking Hopkins. Dude's a stud. He's probably going to be a Hall of Famer. Like, he's really, really good. He's at the point of his career where I don't know how likely it is, but let's go. We didn't think Juju would be able to do that again. And, we got a very small sample size, but he did. And the other thing for Hopkins that will be very different than Tennessee, and maybe not so much this year because they also had Calvin Ridley, but last year, right? It's you can't just hone in on him. That would be the worst mistake a defense could make, because then you've got all these other things that the Chiefs will do to you. So probably, you've got to go way back, I would imagine, to maybe never, at a chance where DeAndre Hopkins gets more one-on-one type opportunities, right? He is not going to be the focal point of defenses, just like Juju wasn't. And that could also unlock him a little bit. It's a really interesting fit. I like it.
Like I said before the break, the fact that Hopkins can work the middle of the field really well, and he's done that over the course of his career. I think that, even with Juju on the field, and Juju has been fine this year before he got injured for Kansas City, but there were a lot of times where defenses really didn't have to pay super close attention to the middle of the field, right? They could focus in on Worthy. They could try to take care of Kelsey. When Kelsey would go to the middle of the field, that was where he was able to be successful. You can't do that quite as much when you've got Hopkins, who is so versatile and can go multiple different areas. You've got to not really necessarily hone in on him, but you have to pay attention to him for sure. And that should open up opportunities for the other guys who are out on the field. There's no doubt.
And stylistically for the Chiefs, what do they need that wide receiver to do? Pick up first downs, right? They need that. They need a chain mover. That's what, again, it can become at some point by the postseason an embarrassment of riches, but they need this wide receiver right now to help them pick up first downs, to help complement their run game and their defense and those things. That's why this opportunity is so tremendous for D-Hop. We'll get more into it. I also want to look at the Cooper Kupp rumors and what that says about this franchise and what it's doing. And, long-term, I think we can take a lot away from the Cooper Kupp situation and his role in this last 24 hours of rumors and mayhem for the Chiefs. So we'll do all that. When we come back, Shreyas Laddha is going to join the show as we look ahead to the Sunflower Showdown. We'll have the KU take on things when we return on Sports Daily. Don't go away.
A mourning widow sells her husband's car trying to move on, but the checks came back in his name.
How do they expect him to cash these checks?
Looking for answers, fact finder Brandon Stitt went to the Department of Revenue. A proposed energy plan that threatens Kansas landowners, meaning some families could lose their homes.
My land is not for sale. Others' land is not for sale. Our lifestyle is not for sale.
12 News took their concerns to Senators Marshall and Moran. When you need answers, turn to the fact finders for help. Right. Start your day with 12 News this morning. Get ready with Jake's accurate hour-by-hour forecast, so you'll know if you need a jacket when you walk out the door or an umbrella by lunch. Start your day knowing what happened overnight and what's happening now. Live, breaking news all morning long. And plan the best route to work and school with traffic from across Kansas. Start your day right. Start your day with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSEW.
Hey, Wichita, Jim Rome here, celebrating over 25 years as the #1 midday sports talk show on Wichita Radio. Find out why. Tune into the jungle, weekdays 11 until 2 on 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With more than 25 flavors, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day for half-price cups of tea. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
Clouds are not just the canvas of our imagination. They tell a story. Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
When you need help, remember, you're not alone. We are here. We are neighbors. We are together. We are Kansas. We are 12 News.
They say it takes a village. Come together and support local businesses in our neighborhoods. When you contribute to local shops, more money goes back into the economy. Shopping local makes our state stronger. So give back to the communities you love and watch our businesses and communities thrive. Shop local and be Kansas proud.
At 12 News, we know you're busy, which is why we're here whenever you need us. Anytime, any screen. With live breaking news.
Critically hurt after an apartment.
Storm Team 12 forecast.
Snowing for many miles.
And the stories you don't want to miss.
The scene's still very active.
Just
right
search KWCH 12 News wherever you stream and catch up on the latest news of the day. All for free and on your schedule, hopefully making your day a little bit easier. And did I mention the Storm Team 12 forecast? 12 News whenever you want.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With more than 25 flavors, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day for half-price cups of tea. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
Determining fact from fiction. That's our full-time job.
You need to have someone give you the whole story from every side.
To help you when no one else is listening.
You need someone to put you first.
That's what we do.
We bring you the facts first.
When you need it.
Wherever you are.
12 News. Facts first.
It's that time, Sports Daily, getting all the inside information on the Kansas Jayhawks. Let's go now to the KU football and basketball beat writer from the Kansas City Star, Shreyas Laddha.
And we are back with Shreyas Laddha joining here, our KU insider at Sports Daily. It's a Wednesday. Glad to be here with you. Jacob Albrock, Tommy Castor, Chad Chambers producing. Shreyas, welcome to Sunflower Showdown Week of 2024. Certainly not what we thought it would be. However, I would say certainly closer to what we thought it would be than we thought maybe 3 weeks ago. KU's finally playing a little offense. They're still not playing the best defense, but they're playing a little offense. I got to give credit. You know, it's been an interesting discussion with Jalen Daniels and, you know, Coach Grimes and everything. I do think those two deserve some credit because they have clearly figured something out. Easily the best two performances from Daniels over the last 2 weeks. And I guess we can start there. I think their recent success at least gives K-State some pause of like, okay, we better be ready to go in this game because KU's offense is back humming a little bit.
100%. I think it's the best the offense has looked, I think, all year. The mix of the run passes looked good. Devin Neal continues to do what Devin Neal does. Jalen Daniels is not throwing the ball over, turning the ball over at a historic rate that he was on for the first 5 games. And the wide receivers look good. I think that's the best the wide receivers have looked all year. You know, it seems like they finally have built that connection that was so special with Jason Bean. And it was special in 2022. That is special with Jalen Daniels again. And, Quincy Skinner, Lawrence Arnold, they've had breakout games back to back. Luke Grimm hasn't been targeted as much, but I think that's a good thing. He's spreading the ball a little bit more. He's not panicking and throwing to, just one receiver. And I thought overall, I was really impressed with Jalen against Houston. Obviously, Houston isn't a great team, but he made a lot of throws that were like, whoa, that's the kind of Jalen Daniels we've seen in the past. And that's the kind of Jalen Daniels that if he plays like that, he's going to be playing on Sundays.
Trace, I don't know about you, but in watching the Houston game, really to me, it started my thought process on where this team is at really started with their very first offensive drive. It was methodical. They worked their way down the field. It was a heavy dose of Devin Neal. I know that Daniel Highshaw got the ball at one point, left with an injury, came back a little bit later, and we'll talk about that later. But I really, for me, when they were able to take up a bunch of clock, get into the end zone, score right away, I thought, all right, this looks like a team coming out of the bye, wanting to try to change its identity. Did you get that same sort of sense from the very start of the game?
Yeah, I think so. I think they were locked in. They were focused. They just look like a different level of football that we've seen all year from Kansas, I think it kind of goes back to the offense was playing well against Arizona State. They did a lot of the same stuff they did against Arizona State. They did against Houston. They did even better. And I was just impressed. It was consistent offensive production in a year that they haven't really had consistency on that end. I think it's the best possible time for it to happen because Kansas needs to win this game for so many reasons, not just to kind of get the monkey off the back and meet their boogeyman in Kansas State, but, they need to go 4-1 or better the rest of the year to make a bowl game. And, it starts with this really tough stretch of games, and it starts against Kansas State. After that, they're playing BYU and Iowa State, and those games are ranked opponents, of course. I think I was looking at it. I think Henry mentioned it on Twitter today. I think KU plays the next 4 games as a top 4 of the conference, which is, I think we all thought the schedule would be easier than it is, and I think, like always, it always flips around more than you think.
Well, and it starts with K-State. I think it's going to be tough going into Manhattan, and winning that game is going to be tough. It's interesting. I think these two teams are similar offensively in what they want to do. Jalen Daniels isn't going to run it like Avery Johnson's going to run it necessarily, but I think they both want to start with the run. And I think they both like to do those things to open up, the passing games. Can they do that? K-State has been defensively this year inviting teams to throw on them and sort of making sure they don't let teams run on them. That's how BYU beat them. I wonder what KU does here. KU's not going to abandon that philosophy, right? Their offensive game plan is still going to start with Neal and Highshaw, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting because, Jalen's going to have to basically play a mistake-free game against Kansas State. And, let's call it what it is. Kansas State is much better than Houston and Arizona State. So I don't know if we've seen a game from Jalen against a quality opponent, to the level of, Kansas State this year. I mean, actually, I do know that we haven't seen it, but we haven't seen it in a long time. But, I think it's going to be a big test for him. It's going to be a big test because he was throwing to the middle of the field, something he hadn't done a lot of all year against Arizona State and Houston. He was, confident. He was comfortable. He looked poised. And, he did things with his legs and his, arm. And I think Lance Leipold said it, and I thought it was really interesting. I don't know a story about it, but Lance talked about it. He was like, I think, we underestimated the amount of rust that he had even back leading up to fall camp. And I think that's kind of an egregious mistake, to be honest with you. It seems like to me, they probably, he wasn't quite ready as much as he should have been. And maybe, and I asked myself this, is would Kansas be sitting at a better position if they'd let Cole start the season a little bit instead of Jalen Daniels, let him get fully healthy and back to normal?
Going to the defense here for a second, Shreyas, I know that they played Houston, right? And Houston is overall not a great offensive team. They really haven't been, all season long. So there's a caveat there and a little bit of context with the opponent that they played. But I was really impressed with overall what the defense was able to do on Saturday against the Cougars, especially. I mean, you can't talk about the defense without talking about Kobe Bryant and the 3 interceptions that he had. That is, even more impressive considering that he exited the Arizona State game with an injury in the previous game before the bye week. And so coming out and being as effective as he was, and knowing that that's leading up to the Sunflower Showdown, do you anticipate the defense now trending in the right direction? Because it had been a struggle for them for a handful of weeks when they had started off the season pretty strong.
I think it is trending in the right direction, but also I don't really take much stock into this Houston game. I don't think Houston was a good enough opponent for we can sit there and say they're going to do the same thing against Kansas State to any level of ferocity. They had 5 sacks. I think they had 6 or 7 QB hurries or QB pressures, and they had 4 turnovers. 4 interceptions they caused, and 3 of them for Kobe Bryant, who had a fantastic game. I don't think Avery Johnson is going to be throwing some of the balls that the Houston QBs did. I know he's made some mistakes in the past, but he's looked better and better each week that I've seen him in the passing game. I think if Kansas walks away with 1 or 2 picks and a couple of sacks, I think that's a big, basically it feels like that means the defense has given Kansas a chance to win the game. I really think this is going to be a fascinating game for this Kansas defense because they did a good job of stopping the run against Houston, the QB rushes, but I really don't know if they're going to be able to do that against Avery Johnson and this offensive line of Kansas State. I think it's going to be kind of the thing that probably gives them a lot of issues, and I have a feeling that Kansas is going to probably be within 10 in the fourth quarter, and Avery Johnson's like 3rd and 17, and he makes an 18, 19-yard scramble, and that's that. That's kind of where I'm at with this game. And I just think Kansas basically has to play a near perfect game. And I haven't seen it from this year. So until they do it, I'm not going to sit there and say they're going to come out there.
They didn't even do it against Houston. I was, quite frankly, I was pretty annoyed with the end of the first half. Like I sat there and I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. The 14 points in the second quarter. And then to their credit, they did a great job in the second half. But yeah, I agree. It's going to take a complete game. The one thing I will say is Avery Johnson, I think, is nicked up. Like he didn't run at all in the last game against West Virginia. I don't know if he's better now, but remember, he left that game in Colorado, came back, but then didn't run very much last week. So I don't know what his, and we'll see with Fitz tomorrow if he has any insight on how Avery's feeling as far as being a runner. But again, with KU's defense, like you can't have that second quarter against K-State. Like you can't have those letdowns like that. That was Houston. Like we're sitting there watching them. We're like, all right, this looks great for KU. And they give up 14 points in the second quarter. And you're like, what the hell is happening? They did a great job in the second half. Are they capable of doing that for 4 quarters? Like, are they able to, or is that a fool's dream?
We're 7 games into the season, and we've seen 6 straight games where they have gotten, given up points right before the second half. I'm not a big math guy, but I do like using statistics, and the probability of them not doing that against Kansas State has got to be less than 10%. I haven't, like if Houston is doing that to you, I'm guessing until you sit there and change something, until it actually comes out there and plays. I thought the defense against Houston did a good job, but I really think they got bailed out by Kobe Bryant a lot of times. I really think if the Houston quarterbacks were not as bad as they were, that game would have been a lot closer. And I think it's not me being cynical on Kansas football. It's me wanting to see them consistently do the things that they're doing in certain games day in, day out. The offense looks like it's turned around a little bit, but again, it's against Arizona State and Houston. So who knows? The defense has had 1 good game in the last 4 games. And again, it's against Houston, a team that had benched their quarterback in TCU 2 weeks ago. Then he had to come back in because their main quarterback got a hamstring injury, which, mind you, that guy had 4 passes and one of them was an interception as well. It's really hard to sit there and say yes, this is the season that Kansas football is going to end their 15-game losing streak against Kansas State. I mean, I just don't see it. I just don't see it on the road. Maybe I'm wrong, but, at this point, I've picked Kansas in too many games, so I'm going the other way, and I'm picking Kansas State in this one.
Yeah, you mentioned Kobe Bryant bailing out the team multiple times. Honestly, I mean, they were bailed out by the Houston quarterbacks who made a couple of terrible passes that, you're not going to see, typically happen in the Big 12. On that note, with the quarterbacks, I know that you and Carter Stanley talked about this in your most recent episode, I think before the Houston game, about the trend, and you talked about trends before halftime, but another trend that has really developed this season for the Jayhawks is the inability to contain quarterback runs. That's been just a really difficult part of the defense for the Jayhawks. Obviously, Houston's quarterbacks were, they're not nearly as talented as the guys that they faced before. And then Avery Johnson as well. And Johnson kind of picked apart West Virginia throwing the ball through the air last week. I would imagine a lot of the game plan offensively for the Wildcats is to let Avery Johnson show off his wheels a little bit, because that's an area that the Jayhawks have struggled in. Defensively for Kansas, leading up to, everything I just said, leading up to this question, do you think it's possible for Kansas to game plan a way to try to contain that better? Or should they just kind of throw their hands up and say, look, Johnson's going to get his on the ground. We've got to try to find other ways to be effective defensively. And maybe that's with Kobe Bryant and trying to, again, do a great job in the secondary.
I think it's a really good question. And I think you have got to stop him from running a buck. Like, if he has 100 yards on the ground, Kansas State means, there's no chance Kansas wins a game like that unless, he's throwing up picks left and right, which I don't think he will do. I think the big thing is, and they did a good job of this against Houston, is they cut off different angles for rushing lanes for quarterbacks. If they can do that against Avery, I think that'll be huge. But Avery's just so shifty, and we've seen it. He's a run-first quarterback that's learning how to pass as good as he's passed lately. And he's a young quarterback that seems to be getting better day in, day out, game in, game out. Kansas secondary hasn't exactly been the best this year, and not in the sense of they haven't looked as good, but they just haven't been to the level they were last year. Until Kobe Bryant's kind of interception day, I felt like they weren't getting turnovers to the rate that they were previously, and the pass rush is the big reason why. The amount of pressure that Kansas is getting to quarterbacks has been pretty bad this year, and I think a lot of that goes down to they haven't really had one guy that steps up. They have a committee, but the committee hasn't been consistently stepping up to go out there and get that QB hurry, QB pressure. And Austin Booker's, departure is sorely missed. I mean, they really do miss his presence out there, because I think if he was out there, I think Kansas would be sitting at a different record than they are right now. And I think they wouldn't have some of these defensive woes we'd be talking about, and inconsistency on that end if he's out there.
It's the evening window. It's national television. It'll be a big stage for all of these great players. Shreyas, what do you guys have going for us at the KC Star?
Yeah, we'll obviously have, I have a press conference to go to today. I have my story coming out. I had my story yesterday that came out about Jalen and quarterback room, wide recievers. Me and Kellis will obviously have our predictions, mailbag, typical stuff. It'll be a fun one. I'm excited. I'm always excited for rivalry games. I don't love making the trip down to Manhattan because it's a drive from Lawrence, but it'll be a fun one. I'm excited for Saturday night, and I just hope it's a close, fun game because, at this point, if they get blown out by Kansas State, their season's pretty much over. So let's see if they can come out there, put some fight, and give the Wildcats a scare.
They can spoil a lot of parties with their schedule coming up, that's for sure. Shreyas, we appreciate it. Check out his work at KC Star. Follow him on social media, our KU Insider. We'll talk again in the aftermath next week.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys.
There goes Shreyas Laddha. I'm happy that it feels like it's going to be a better game than it felt like it was going to be 2 or 3 weeks ago. KU, that is like, if I'm KU fan today, the fact that they'll get an opportunity to beat really good teams is more, I think, than we thought they might get after, let's call it, the TCU game. Like, that opportunity to get excited about games, I think, is back on the table. And I think they'll get lots of opportunities to do it. And that gives me I don't want to say butterflies, but it certainly gives me a better feeling than it was a while ago.
I think it's important to note for Kansas, since we've been on the topic of the Jayhawks perspective in the Sunflower Showdown. I think it's important to note their season isn't over. I mean, maybe the season that they desired and that they expected to have, but overall their season's not done. They can still make a bowl game, right? That's not a lot of times this point during the season in years past, they were already out of bowl contention. Right. It wasn't going to happen. They can still make a bowl. They can still finish with a winning record. I think most importantly, when it comes to this particular game, they can play spoiler to Kansas State. That's going to be motivation in and of itself.
They'll get the spoiler opportunity just about every game they play the rest of the way, that's incentive. Like if you're a fan, you're a hater at the same time. Like you want to be a hater to the other teams. So that'll be good. We'll have Tim Fitzgerald in to talk the K-State side of things tomorrow, our K-State insider. So stay tuned for that. The IHOP hotline will be back open for you in the second hour, wide open the rest of the way. Much more on the Chiefs trade for DeAndre Hopkins. On the way out, let's give away some HTO, some free iced tea. You'll get a free iced tea, more than 25 flavors to choose from, sweet or unsweet, or a free iced or hot coffee. Good for all three of the Wichita Metro locations. All you got to do is text the keyword T to the short code 20357. That's T to 20357. You can enter once per day. Good luck, everybody. Message and data rates apply. Hour number 2 of Sports Daily coming right up.
A mourning widow sells her husband's car trying to move on, but the checks came back in his name.
How do they expect him to cash this check?
Looking for answers, fact finder Brandon Stitt went to the Department of Revenue. A proposed energy plan that threatens Kansas landowners, meaning some families could lose their homes.
My land is not for sale. Others' land is not for sale. Our lifestyle is not for sale.
12 News took their concerns to Senators Marshall and Moran. When you need answers, turn to the fact finders for help. Right. Start your day with 12 News this morning. Get ready with Jake's accurate hour-by-hour forecast, so you'll know if you need a jacket when you walk out the door or an umbrella by lunch. Start your day knowing what happened overnight and what's happening now. Live, breaking news all morning long. And plan the best route to work and school with traffic from across Kansas. Start your day right. Start your day with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSEW.
Hey, Wichita, Jim Rome here, celebrating over 25 years as the #1 midday sports talk show on Wichita Radio. Find out why. Tune into the jungle, weekdays 11 until 2 on 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With more than 25 flavors, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day for half-price cups of tea. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
Clouds are not just the canvas of our imagination. They tell a story. Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
When you need help, remember, you're not alone. We are here. We are neighbors. We are together. We are Kansas. We are 12 News.
They say it takes a village. Come together and support local businesses in our neighborhoods. When you contribute to local shops, more money goes back into the economy. Shopping local makes our state stronger. So give back to the communities you love and watch our businesses and communities thrive. Shop local and be Kansas proud.
At 12 News, we know you're busy, which is why we're here whenever you need us. Anytime, any screen. With live breaking news.
Critically hurt after an apartment.
Storm Team 12 forecast.
Snowing for many miles.
And the stories you don't want to miss.
The scene's still very active.
Just
right
search KWCH 12 News wherever you stream and catch up on the latest news of the day. All for free and on your schedule, hopefully making your day a little bit easier. And did I mention the Storm Team 12 forecast? 12 News whenever you want.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With more than 25 flavors, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day for half-price cups of tea. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
Determining fact from fiction. That's our full-time job.
You need to have someone give you the whole story from every side.
To help you when no one else is listening.
You need someone to put you first.
That's what we do.
We bring you the facts first.
When you need it.
Wherever you are.
12 News. Facts first.
Now, from Wichita's most listened to sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH. This is Sports Daily with Jacob Albrocht and Tommy Kester.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Excuse me. Gross. It is hour number 2 of the program.
Y'all right there?
No,
Hanging
I'm
in there?
not. I'm actually not. Jacob Albrocht, Tommy Caster here with you in hour number 2. Big Chiefs news on a trade today. The IHOP hotline's back open for your reactions to it at 869-1240. Celebrate the weekdays with the new IHOP House Faves. All your favorites for just $6 Monday through Friday. It is Hawaiian Shirt Wednesday. Thank you to all those who celebrate. Making my way through the rotation of Hawaiian shirts. Got a really old one here. Classic, we'll call it. But it's good. And, you know, you can see it on the video stream. You can, as you just heard me come out onto the air, unfortunately on the video stream, maybe also see me mute and hack a few times. Tommy, I didn't fall asleep until about 4 a.m. Last night because of a stupid little cough. I'm telling you, I'm no doctor, but since the first time I had COVID way back when, anytime I get anything, whether it's like allergies, a cold, anything, I will get this little cough now, and it is impossible to clear. And so, like when we came back, obviously didn't get the job done, and that's what I've been dealing with. So, yay, it's so fun. So sorry if I sound like a prepubescent, teenager on the air.
I was a little bit surprised because I was up really early this morning. I woke up and couldn't go back to sleep. I was up at 4:45, something like that, and just was up for the entire morning. Right as you were falling asleep, I texted you the DeAndre Hopkins news when it broke. I mean, it broke before 6 a.m. It was like 5:45 when that news broke, and I texted it to you. Typically you're up around that time, and so I didn't hear from you for a while, and I was concerned about you. Turns out you were sleeping
all the way till about 7:05, and when I got to get the kids ready for school. So, so forgive that I look like a zombie on the video stream this morning, but at least I'm a zombie, in a Hawaiian shirt, partying, ready to a Hawaiian zombie. That's right. So the DeAndre Hopkins news comes down. Love the trade, love the move, love that the Chiefs did something. You sent me something, and there's a belief Hollywood Brown would be back in time for the postseason. That's what all of this is about. It's all about the postseason. To me, it's all about what we're seeing from the Ravens. It's all about the fact that Buffalo did go get a little bit better with Amari. Well, they probably got a lot better, quite frankly, with Amari Cooper. It's about seeing it's about the Steelers going to Russell Wilson and everybody saying, whoa, hang on a minute. Like, that looked really impressive. Like, all of those things piled in with the Chiefs, all the injuries they've had. And yeah, they just, it didn't make a lot of sense for them to just sit still. Why would you, right? You can get somebody for a cost that's not going to hurt you this year or that much next year. And so that's what they do. I think what's really interesting to me, though, is you see the rumors yesterday happening about Cooper Kupp. And even if they had found a way to make it work financially this year, next year you'd owe them a bunch of money. If there was ever a year for them to go big and get a guy like Cooper Kupp, who stylistically would be about perfect, quite frankly, this would be the year, but they're not going to do it. The Chiefs are not going to devote a large portion of their salary cap over a large period of time to the wide receiver position. Period. They just are not going to do that. At least not right now. Not in this version or iteration of it. And so I think what that tells me is don't fear the patchwork approach that they've taken. There's a very good chance that when Rashee Rice becomes a free agent, if he continues on the path of his early career, Tommy, that the Chiefs are going to watch him walk away. And they're just going to keep reloading at wide receiver. Now, that could all change as Travis Kelce gets older, and they could change that philosophy. But they're far more concerned about other positions. And I thought the Cooper Kupp situation told us that as much as the Tyreek Hill situation told us that a while ago, as much as they never get involved on long-term receiver deals in these off seasons. We're just seeing them repeat the same pattern. They're not going to devote. If they were going to do that, they would have kept Tyreek Hill.
The number one reason why the DeAndre Hopkins trade even materialized and, it looks like it will be finalized and all done is because the Titans were willing to take on a majority of DeAndre Hopkins' contract. That's the reason why. The Chiefs don't have the cap room. So even if they wanted to spend money on a wide receiver, they don't have the capability of doing that without making a bunch of contracts restructured and that sort of thing. You could always do that. And there are players, I know Patrick Mahomes has been willing to do that over the years. Travis Kelce has done that. Like, players are willing to restructure their contracts to make things like that work. But it does require a lot of effort, to get that going, and moving parts and agreement from multiple parties and all of that. DeAndre Hopkins came to Kansas City because the Titans were willing to eat a portion of the contract. The Rams were not willing to eat a portion or a large part of Cooper Kupp's contract. Their contracts are different because DeAndre Hopkins is a free agent after this season. Cooper Kupp is not. He's got 2 more years on his deal. The Chiefs aren't going to spend a lot of money. I don't care if we're talking about Hopkins or Kupp on a wide receiver who is over the age of 30 that they have to spend a bunch of money on. Cooper Kupp is 31. DeAndre Hopkins is 32. Both of them have dealt with their respective injuries over the course of their careers. Both of them are probably not at their prime like they were a few years ago. The difference between the two is simply that the Titans were able to take on the contract and they were willing to do that, and the Rams were not. So yeah, this is absolutely a situation where the Chiefs are not willing to overpay. They're not willing to, and they're not able to, frankly, take on the cost of a wide receiver because they have other priorities that they need to spend their money on.
Absolutely. And the Rams would have eaten the money probably this year if it would have got them a first or second round pick back, but they wouldn't have done it next year, right? I don't even think they're allowed to do that, by the way. I don't think, and I guess they could have restructured it somehow, but it is just telling that the Chiefs, look, they're far more concerned about other things with their salary cap space than they are wide receiver. We should all be fine with that, by the way. They've won 2 Super Bowls that way. They watched Tyreek Hill walk away and then won 2 Super Bowls. They have the ability to do that. They've reinvented themselves, and I think it's the right way to do it. It may change, though, when Travis Kelce's not there. I would say that, too. Like, if Travis Kelce's not there, maybe that philosophy changes a little bit, and that's okay, too. But right now, while you have Travis Kelce there, and we all just sort of look and watch Travis Kelce block and do the things, and you're just like, okay, we'll just talk, wake me up for him when the postseason comes around. How do you get there? By the way they've been playing football. They're going to run the ball. They're going to run the ball even more if Pacheco comes back. I'm telling you, they're going to run the ball 30, 35 times a game when Pacheco is back, if he's back with Kareem Hunt, and they're both fully ready to go. That's what they're going to do. And they're going to keep playing the same brand of football on steroids. We have to see what happens now with Jaylen Watson out. That is significant, maybe as significant as any injury that's happened. And I know the young guys stepped up and had, 2 interceptions after he was hurt. We got to see that, because if the defense wavers at all, you're going to need more out of that position than what they've had. But if they can fill that hole, I think, Tommy, then it's all about what happens when you get to the postseason. Everything they're doing now, the good fortune of the ball bouncing your way in these games and being 6-0 and having 3 games in hand, essentially against the Ravens, is you can right now just say, and I know the Chiefs will say 1 game at a time and all that, and I do believe that they believe that, but Brett Veach doesn't need to worry. Brett Veach needs to be worried about what happens in the postseason, and that's his job, and that's what he's doing here. And great, if Hollywood Brown comes back, awesome. By that point, if Xavier Worthy's not a bigger factor, then he will have probably, I don't want to call it a bust. We would have had a disappointing rookie year if he's not contributing more at that point. Now you can do things you haven't been able to do thus far this season. It's a good. It's why the Chiefs needed to make a move, because they're doing these things now.
Don't forget they're also 6-0, so they've got a little bit of a cushion.
They have a lot of cushion.
And honestly, like, this is, again, I mean, it plays into it in a large way because they're putting a team together for the postseason, to your point, like you mentioned just a few minutes ago. The priority is having the weapons that this team needs, especially offensively, to make a postseason run. You take a look at the Ravens, okay? So I think the Chiefs it was advantageous for the Chiefs to take on the Ravens in week 1 because the Ravens had not yet, they weren't clicking on all fronts in week 1. Right? They're clicking on all fronts now. If you watch them on Monday Night Football just a couple of nights ago.
Except Patrick Mahomes. Yeah. Other than Patrick Mahomes, they are. Yeah. Like he's not, I wouldn't say he's clicking on all fronts. He's throwing too many interceptions.
No. I'm not talking about the Chiefs. I'm talking about the Ravens.
The
Ravens were not clicking on all cylinders in week 1 when the Chiefs faced them and they beat them. The Ravens are absolutely clicking on all cylinders now. If you watch them on Monday Night Football the other night, Lamar went crazy. Derrick Henry has ran the ball great over the last few weeks. Like, they have come alive big time. I'm not suggesting that right now, if you put those two teams up against each other this weekend, for instance, that the Chiefs would automatically lose the game. That's not what I'm suggesting, because the defense is great for Kansas City, all of that. But I think it'd be more difficult. Absolutely. It'd be tougher for Kansas City to get the win this week against a team like Baltimore than it was in week 1 for them to win. So they're stockpiling these weapons for a postseason run, knowing that there's a good likelihood that they'll face Baltimore again in an AFC championship game. And then knowing that the Bills went out and acquired Amari Cooper and like all of these other things happening, the Chiefs are trying to keep pace. Don't be surprised, though. I don't think it's going to be a repeat of a season ago where they went on that long losing streak and things were not good for Kansas City. But don't be surprised if it takes a little bit of time as they experiment and try to figure out the best version of themselves offensively with the addition of DeAndre Hopkins. And then when Isaiah Pacheco comes back, figuring out that, distribution between Hunt and Pacheco and what the running game looks like and the balance between run and pass and all of that, that might take a little bit of experimentation. But as long as it gets you ready to go for the postseason and you are the best version of yourself, both in execution and in health, that's exactly what they're planting the seeds for right now to get ready for that in January.
I think there are several things we should be watching. The Ravens are the most important. The Ravens weren't clicking on all the cylinders against the Chiefs, largely because the Chiefs stopped the run, which 100%. Is what they do. And so there's some of that wasn't all on the Ravens. That was the Chiefs making the Ravens uncomfortable. If you look at the schedule right now, the Chiefs have 3 games in hand on the Ravens. And that's if the Ravens – so the Chiefs would have to lose 4 games at this point to lose their position over the Ravens. And that's if the Ravens won every single game the rest of the way. They still have divisional games coming up against Cincinnati, against Pittsburgh. I would say it's unlikely the Ravens win every game between now and the end of the season. So now you probably have 5 games in hand. Are the Chiefs going to lose 5 games the rest of the way? Very unlikely. Okay, so that's the good news with the Ravens. If you play the Ravens in the postseason, it's almost certainly going to happen at Arrowhead Stadium. I think we need to pay attention to the Bills, who can run the ball like crazy and who just added Amari Cooper and have good tight ends. I think the Bills are a real threat. I think you have to pay attention to the Steelers. If Russell Wilson can be an efficient quarterback with the way they can play defense, that's a team to watch in the AFC. I think you start there right now in the AFC, and of course, Houston's the hardest one for me to predict as far as a matchup with the Chiefs. But I think those are the teams you've got to watch right now, and just make sure, if you're Brett Veach, that when you inevitably play some combination of those teams, that you're in a position to match up well / beat those teams. Your defense will allow you to match up with anybody, just like it did last year in the postseason. Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce in the postseason will allow you to match up with anybody, just like it did last season. But I would tell you right now that the Ravens are better than they were last season when you played them in the AFC Championship game. The Texans are better than they were in their Cinderella season a year ago. The Steelers are better, no matter who their quarterback is, than they were a year ago. So the Chiefs just have to make sure they are too. And on paper coming into this season, they absolutely were. Then the injuries happen, and I think it's silly to just not acknowledge that the roster has been depleted by those injuries. And that's why I think when you come into this with Hopkins, why they needed to make a move. That's why I'm glad they did make a move. I don't know what Hopkins does in the near future. I mean, I care, but it's not going to, it's more about what Hopkins can do for them in December and January than it is in November.
Yeah, there's a very fine line between contentment and complacency. Very fine line between both of those things. And I was of the opinion that despite the injuries, the Chiefs were content with their roster in the thought that Pacheco should be returning, maybe Hollywood Brown by the postseason. And I sort of equated that to they're content. They're content with the guys that they've got. They're 6-0. They found a different way to play. They've leaned on Spags in their defense to great success. It was great bringing Kareem Hunt back. That's been a good move, at least through the first few weeks that he's been with the team. I felt like they were content with what they had. I think that Brett Veach clearly, and again, I was wrong about this, I think Brett Veach was concerned that if nothing happened, that would very quickly turn from contentment to complacency. Yeah. And they were going to sit back, rest on who they've got in the room right now and just say, we're going to call it good and cross our fingers that we can get these guys back and they'll be impact players and we don't lose anybody else. And, so credit to him that he wasn't willing to just rest on that and go out and be aggressive in that regard. Because I do think that while maybe I interpreted it as contentment, I'm sure a lot of others in the fan base were concerned that it was getting into complacency.
Oh, I definitely did. I didn't think that's not fair because I've always thought Brett Veach was going to do something, or at least there was a good chance he would. But what I didn't want to see was complacency, because I don't think they can afford the complacency, nor do I think they need to. They just don't need to. Why would you if you don't have to? You can go get just about anybody and improve the wide receiver roster that's going to be out there against the Raiders this weekend, right? So why not do it? And that it was that simple. If everybody else is doing things to get better, you should probably do things to get better. And they have been. The Kareem Hunt was a very savvy move. Now, obviously, he has been a huge key for them. And if they didn't have him, Carson Steele, as much as I like Carson Steele, they're not 6-0 if they don't get Kareem Hunt. How about that? We'll just put it quite that simple. If it was just Carson Steele and Samaje Perine, wasn't going to be enough. So, they add Samaje Perine, they add Kareem Hunt, they added Juju Smith-Schuster. They've been making moves right and left. Why would they get complacent now when at every turn this season they have been reactive to the injuries that have happened? They traded for Perine. They traded for Juju. They added Kareem Hunt. They've already redone this roster so many times. Why would you stop? And that's why I would say, too, don't be surprised if they're not done either. There may be another deal to be made for them. There may be another pick swap kind of trade that they can go make. Now, I don't know about the salary cap because, you got to have somebody's appetite to do that. But I mean, I'm not going to be mad if they go trade a 6th round pick for DeMarcus Robinson at this point. Why not? You know what I mean? So don't think they're done either, because again, they've only played 6 games. Who's to say that the receivers now with DeAndre Hopkins in the room, somebody else doesn't get hurt? Because they probably will. And who knows how long Juju Smith-Schuster's out with a soft tissue injury. So I don't know that they're necessarily done either. And they've got some time to look at it, and they're not going to lose to the Raiders, I don't think, and they're probably not going to lose to the Buccaneers if they don't have Mike Evans back and without the Godwin and all these things. And they can. They probably won't. And so, they've got some time to really evaluate things.
Yeah, by the way, multiple reports are suggesting, like Diana Rossini's reporting it, James Palmer reporting it, that the Chiefs are getting DeAndre Hopkins going as soon as he lands in Kansas City today. Yeah. The plan is to have him ready to go for the game this Sunday against the Raiders. Now, who knows what that'll look like, at least from a betting perspective or a fantasy perspective. I'd be careful with that just because there's not a long runway to get him ready. It's already Wednesday. But at least to maybe try to get him worked in a little bit, I think would be advantageous for the Chiefs, just because you're playing a team like the Raiders who Gardner Minshew is going to be the guy like that. That's a team in free fall, and it has been for a minute now, and they don't have Devontae Adams anymore. So getting some reps in for Hopkins, I think this is a good time to do it, but I wouldn't expect a ton from him this weekend.
Even if he's been there for 2 weeks, I wouldn't. But here's my read on this Chiefs-Raiders game. I'll give you my read on it right now. The Chiefs are going to run the crap out of the ball for a couple reasons. One, because they're depleted at wide receiver and Hopkins hadn't had enough time. You think they really want to drop Patrick Mahomes back a bunch of times against Max Crosby? Because I don't.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, they don't have any interest. They have no interest in doing that. They shouldn't have any interest in doing that. They should ugly this game up, try to suffocate them defensively, and run the ball like crazy. And I think that's exactly what they're going to do. I would be surprised if Patrick Mahomes is ever in the pocket for more than a second and a half. If I'm the Chiefs and I'm thinking about the postseason right now, I have no interest whatsoever in a game that I should be able to do whatever I want to a team like the Raiders and having Max Crosby do something that derails our set. No chance. That's what I think happens this weekend. So yes, to your point, I'm not playing DeAndre Hopkins this week in fantasy because I don't think the Chiefs are going to drop back that much. I don't think they have any interest in doing that.
All you have to do is go back to the Niners game and just with everything that Nick Bosa was doing and being disruptive, Mahomes never had a clean pocket, hardly at all. Never had time for things to develop. And he was, to his credit, he was either scrambling and those runs were fantastic, or he was getting the ball out very quickly. Now, it wasn't super effective, but he was releasing the ball a lot quicker than I think we're typically used to seeing Mahomes have there in the pocket. And so if he does drop back, I mean, Max Crosby is disruptive as well. So I would anticipate more of that when he does drop back. It's going to be probably quick passes. And honestly, I think that's an area where Hopkins can come in and have some success. Run some slants, some quick hits, things like that. That's a really easy way to get him ramped up.
The Chiefs will play to protect Mahomes this week unless they're forced into it. Mahomes had the big runs because they needed the big runs because it was the 49ers. In an ideal world, you don't need any of that. You just control the pace. You stop Brock Bowers. You stop the Raiders offense. I mean, and that's been hard to do. He's maybe having the best rookie season we've ever seen from a tight end. Stop him. You stop the Raiders offense. They don't have Devontae Adams. They don't just dominate the game in the line of scrimmage and see you next week. That would be, but we'll get into that. I'll get PJ Glasser's read on that tomorrow, our betting insider. I mean, it is a low total for a Chiefs at 41.5. I don't think I could take the over there. I don't know if I'm taking the under, but that's a low total. I think that tells you that even Vegas predicts that type of game coming this weekend against the Raiders. All right, we're going to take a quick break. So the Chiefs make this move. what does that mean? I want to know, like, if Tommy thinks what you guys think. So now who the ball is in whose court? Among the contenders for a Super Bowl, we've seen a lot of teams get better at the deadline. Who's next? What team is now the most desperate to do something to get better? We'll talk about that next on Sports Daily.
A mourning widow sells her husband's car trying to move on, but the checks came back in his name.
How do they expect him to cash this check?
Looking for answers, fact finder Brandon Stitt went to the Department of Revenue. A proposed energy plan that threatens Kansas landowners, meaning some families could lose their homes.
My land is not for sale. Others' land is not for sale. Our lifestyle is not for sale.
12 News took their concerns to Senators Marshall and Moran. When you need answers, turn to the fact finders for help. Right. Start your day with 12 News this morning. Get ready with Jake's accurate hour-by-hour forecast, so you'll know if you need a jacket when you walk out the door or an umbrella by lunch. Start your day knowing what happened overnight and what's happening now. Live, breaking news all morning long. And plan the best route to work and school with traffic from across Kansas. Start your day right. Start your day with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSEW.
Hey, Wichita, Jim Rome here. Celebrating over 25 years as the #1 midday sports talk show on Wichita Radio. Find out why. Tune into the jungle weekdays 11 until 2 on 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With more than 25 flavors, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day for half-price cups of tea. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
Clouds are not just the canvas of our imagination. They tell a story. Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
When you need help, remember, you're not alone. We are here. We are neighbors. We are together. We are Kansas. We are 12 News.
They say it takes a village. Come together and support local businesses in our neighborhoods. When you contribute to local shops, more money goes back into the economy. Shopping local makes our state stronger. So give back to the communities you love and watch our businesses and communities thrive. Shop local and be Kansas proud.
At 12 News, we know you're busy, which is why we're here whenever you need us. Anytime, any screen. With live breaking news.
Critically hurt after an apartment.
Storm Team 12 forecast.
Snowing for many miles.
And the stories you don't want to miss.
The scene's still very active.
Just
right
search KWCH 12 News wherever you stream and catch up on the latest news of the day. All for free and on your schedule, hopefully making your day a little bit easier. And did I mention the Storm Team 12 forecast? 12 News whenever you want.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With more than 25 flavors, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day for half-price cups of tea. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
Determining fact from fiction. That's our full-time job.
You need to have someone give you the whole story from every side.
To help you when no one else is listening.
You need someone to put you first.
That's what we do.
We bring you the facts first.
When you need it.
Wherever you are.
12 News. Facts first.
everybody. It is Sports Daily here on KFH. Glad to be with you. Fall at Crestview Country Club. Still golfing, of course, and lots of tennis events this fall, like glow-in-the-dark triples. It's a one-time-per-year special event for the Halloween season that you don't want to miss. The indoor courts get blacked out. The tennis court and net will be illuminated with a black light. High-energy, fast-paced event. I'll have you getting a great workout in while having fun playing triples. A team of 3 or 4 taking on other teams and rotating after every point. There'll be votes for best costume, prizes available for first and second place. They'll have the music going on the court. Drinks will be available a la carte. So a great Halloween event if you're a tennis player. Just one of many great events going on at Crestview Country Club. Give them a call. Check them out. Check all the great different memberships there at the club.
Hey, that's one thing that we really haven't spent a bunch of time talking about with Crestview is tennis. And I know your wife is a tennis player. Is she doing this event? Will she be partaking in that?
What day is it? We may be out of town. We'll have to look at the date. We leave like right after Halloween. So if it's the following weekend, we may not be here. But she is playing tennis. She just like squeezes it in. Because she, works at the stores and does all that stuff, but she's out there all the dang time. She's made a lot of really good friends through tennis too, which has been kind of cool. Tommy, I asked this before the break. So we've seen the Bills make their move. We've seen the Jets make a significant move. We've seen the Steelers make a change, we'll call it. They didn't make a move, but they made a change that could make them a lot better. Who do you think now, and of course the Chiefs just make theirs, who do you think has the most pressure it sure sounds like the Rams want to trade Cooper Kupp and all these things are out there. What team do you think needs to do something the most of the teams that really have a chance to win a Super Bowl? I don't think that the Rams are going to trade Cooper Kupp to the 49ers. Yeah, that would actually make some sense to me. Maybe the Bucks go and try to make a move like that. Baker Mayfield spent some time with the Rams, likely has some familiarity with Cooper Kupp. The Lions probably could use a guy like Cooper Kupp. Like, who's going to make the move and at what position do you think it is of the contenders if we see another blockbuster? Because the way it's going, I would guess that we probably will.
Yeah, I've got a handful of teams that I think are probably in a position where they feel like they need to add to get to where they want to be this season. And a couple of those teams are kind of surprising. Like they found themselves in a position where they're like, well, look at us. Like we're a contender now. We need to go and, continue this on and make additions. And I think 2 of those teams that are the surprises, the Buccaneers, one of them, I know they made the playoffs a year ago, but they've played really well. And I know that the score on Monday Night Football indicated that they got blown out by the Ravens, but at least offensively, before Chris Godwin left the game, like they were pretty effective. And so I can see the Buccaneers going and trying to make an addition, especially at wide receiver. That would be something, whether it's Cooper Kupp or somebody else. I think that they'll be aggressive in that regard. And also, just knowing in that division that it's theirs basically to lose. I think, probably more so than any other team in the NFC South. I would also put the Chicago Bears in that discussion too. They're 4-2. They're a surprising 4-2 in probably the toughest division in the entire NFL. They got to sit at home last week and watch the battle between the Vikings and the Lions, where both teams looked awesome. And then they also got to watch the Packers beat the Texans, who are a really good team. And so they've got to keep pace. I would put the Bears in that category. And then my third team in the AFC would be the Bengals, because as you've said before, if they can just get to the playoffs, if they can make it to the postseason, then they can be dangerous, but they need help defensively. And so I think that they will be aggressive, knowing that they're 3-4 and they've won a couple of games here. I think that they can be aggressive too.
Yeah, I think those are good ones. I would imagine the Bears are probably good, because I don't even know what the Bears would need.
I think running back is probably a place of need for them.
Yeah, maybe. And those are attainable for sure. I'll tell you, I think the Lions had better scour the markets for a pass rusher with Aiden Hutchinson going down, because the Lions are good enough to win a Super Bowl. But if they can't replicate some of the production from Hutchinson, it's going to be a real problem. I know our guy Brandon Zenner, big Vikings fan, looks to them. If the Giants are going to trade a player like Dexter Lawrence, the interior defensive line, he loves the idea of that move. I think that could be a high impact type of move. I'm curious to see what the Steelers do. And they don't have to do it right now. The Steelers are like the Chiefs, never really interested in paying top dollar for wide receivers. They'd much rather continue to do a great job developing wide receivers. They always have done that well. But boy, if Russell Wilson is really the ticket for them, I mean, maybe Cooper Kupp makes a little sense. And I don't know all these teams' cap situations and what the Rams are willing to do. But as far as being willing to trade high draft capital for a high impact move, other than the probably, I think every one of these teams we've mentioned ought to be in the market for it, because I think the Chiefs are 6-0. They're going for 3 straight Super Bowls, but the Chiefs have a lot of injuries and a lot of things they're dealing with. Like, if you're another team, if you don't think now's the time, then when is the time, right? Like, when is the time? Because we'll get there. I mean, Baltimore feels like, let me ask you this, because I asked Paul this. If you were doing a power ranking right now, and you, like, we'd all put the Chiefs ahead of the Ravens, right? Like, we would, because they're 6-0 and they beat them head to head. But man, the Derrick Henry edition, now that he has found a groove, is really, really interesting for them. John Harbaugh is not going to make the same mistake he made in a playoff game a year ago and not run the ball against the Chiefs. Now, the Chiefs stopped Derrick Henry in week 1. But Derrick Henry, like they I think are still the team, even with the Chiefs doing what they've done, until the Chiefs get some guys back. I think you probably, if you're the opposition in the NFL, at least in the AFC, it's probably the Ravens you're trying to stack yourself up against right now.
I think that's fair. I mean, from a talent perspective, it's all there for the most part for Baltimore. Their defense has been good also, and that's an underrated part.
They could add a defensive player. They could be better defensively.
I think that's an underrated part of their game. There's no doubt about it. And, everybody can focus in on Derrick Henry for good reason. But kind of quietly, and it's surprising that it's been kind of quietly, but kind of quietly, Lamar Jackson has started to click also. And
he's the MVP right now.
Well, and I don't think that, not that he didn't play a poor game against the Chiefs, and he really hasn't played many poor games this season at all. He's been fairly consistent, but man, a week ago, not even a week ago, 2 days ago on Monday Night Football, he was outstanding. And those receivers are coming alive. Yep. Mark Andrews had a slow start to the season, probably still not playing up to what he feels like he should be playing, but things are really rounding into form, I guess, for the Ravens. And I put them, it's even with that division. I know you're real high on the Steelers, and they're fine. I don't mind the Steelers. The Ravens are head and shoulders better than Pittsburgh is.
I don't think they're as good defensively. I mean, they're certainly better offensively, and that's what I mean. The Steelers, if you're looking around, the Steelers making a move to bolster their offense does make sense to me. What the Ravens have started to do lately, and they did a good job pointing this out on Monday Night Football, they've become a really good run-stopping team, which is a bit of a problem when you think about a Chiefs matchup, because that's what the Chiefs want to do. Like, all of a sudden, the Ravens have become a really good team at stopping the run. And so if you're going to beat them, in the Buccaneers they were slaying Mike Evans and Chris Godwin basically played the whole game, but Mike Evans went down. Remember, before Mike Evans went down, the Buccaneers were right there. Like, they were right there on him. So if you're going to beat the Ravens through the air, think, that's where, that's why kind of maybe the Texans are a good shot to beat them in a postseason game if they could stop the run. Like, it's all there. It's just like, what can you do now? And it's been a really interesting thing in the NFL this year with the injuries being as bad as they've been. It feels like more teams are willing to make moves. And then there's the team we never talk about, we never think about, that's always there in the end, that made a move to get significantly better with what they need, and that's Buffalo. Buffalo, who has James Cook, who's been very effective, who now it looks like Ray Davis, their rookie, is giving them another weapon to run the ball. Josh Allen's playing well enough. I think people are I think we're sleeping on Buffalo. That's another team that if they went out and made like a move to improve their defense a little bit, Buffalo, like, why are we and this is, and this because I've told you 1,000 times on this show, people are sleeping on Buffalo. People are riding off Buffalo too soon. And it's because they lost Steph Diggs. That's it. Like, that's the reason?
That wasn't why I was low on them. I think it was a combination of turnover offensively and taking some time. I thought it would take a little bit of time to have all those pieces gel with Josh Allen, because you basically blew up the wide receiver room and started from scratch. You don't have Gabe Davis, you don't have Steph Diggs. Like, you bring in some other guys. You've got Khalil Shakir, and you've got you draft Keon Coleman, and I thought it would take a little bit of time in that regard for that to come together. It's happened quicker, and now, of course, you add the reinforcement with Amari Cooper. But really, for me, it was defensively. A year ago, they were an old defensive unit. They were a banged up and often injured defensive unit, and they did make some strides to try to improve that. But I guess what I misinterpreted from the Bills was, I thought that they were kind of with this mentality going into this season of, we're kind of in rebuild mode and it's going to take a minute for us to get there outside of Josh Allen. I don't think that maybe that's the way that they started the season or intended it to be, but that really hasn't been the reality. And I think that they still now feel that they've got an opportunity to continue to contend just with new faces, especially in that division.
The luxury, maybe the greatest luxury of having a great quarterback in the NFL is you never have to rebuild. You're just always going to be in the mix. Think about that was so true with Drew Brees. That was so true with Aaron Rodgers over the years. Before the very end, that was true with Phillip Rivers. Like, some of these great Ben Roethlisberger, some of these great quarterbacks over the years, like, their teams were always in the mix, even if their rosters weren't very good. But I will say this about Buffalo, who, by the way, has the best point differential in the AFC, better than Baltimore. They have beat up on really bad teams, Arizona, Miami, Jacksonville. The Jets aren't bad, I don't think, and that was a close game. But then Tennessee, and they have lost the 2 games. Even though they were on the road back-to-back weeks, Baltimore and Houston, they barely lost to Houston. Baltimore thumped them. So they still got a lot to prove to me. They get a good one this week. I love Buffalo at Seattle. That's one of my favorite games of the week. They'll get Miami with Tua again. They go to the Colts, and then they play the Chiefs before their bye. Their schedule is not easy. It's actually very difficult down the stretch. And so we'll find out about Buffalo. But I think, like, low-key, and it's weird that it's low-key because it was a headline deal, like, Amari Cooper was perfect for them. He's exactly what they needed to put themselves. Their defense has been really good. What they've needed is a playmaker, and they went and they got one. Man, they put their chips in on it. So I think that we don't want to sleep on them either, because they're 5-2 with the best point differential in the AFC. That matters, even though their schedule's been fortuitous for that. It still matters. It feels open to me in the NFL. It feels like there are a lot of teams as we sit here on October 23rd that could win a Super Bowl. Yes, I would still bet the Chiefs to do it. Yes, they're the odds-on favorite. I'm not going to back away from a defense like that with Patrick Mahomes in the postseason. No chance. But, boy, it feels a lot closer than we thought it would before this season started. And the injury thing has happened this year in the NFL. Been a lot of fun. Been a lot of fun.
I actually kind of disagree with that. I think that through a few weeks, through 6 or 7 weeks, I think the Chiefs have established themselves. Obviously, they're 6-0, but established themselves as in a position where they are far and away most likely to win another Super Bowl, because they have basically changed their identity mid-season and they continue to win. They continue to win.
Yeah,
Even though they've been banged up and they're not at full capacity and full strength, they find ways to win. That, to me, makes them the most dangerous team. And I think while there might be, and there for sure are other talented teams in the league, man, I'm not jumping off the Chiefs at all.
Oh, no, I'm not either. I no chance. What I'm saying is they're not just for me, like, when we started the season and we thought Rice and Brown and Pacheco and all these guys were going to be there, I thought they were like a heavy favorite. I think they're less so, but they're still a favorite. Again, I'm not betting against Mahomes. The same thing we talked about last year. Like, Mahomes, Kelsey, with that defense in the postseason, good luck. Especially now that it's very likely it's going through Arrowhead. No, I'm not picking against them, but I am going to acknowledge that there are a lot more teams in the mix than I thought there would be 2 months ago. And that's good. Like, I like that. I think that's good for the league. I think it'd make it a lot of fun. There's a lot of good teams this year. 869-1240 is the IHOP hotline. Bronny, they make their history last night. I probably thought it was a better moment maybe than I thought it was before I saw it. And I've been on board with it all the way. I'm curious to get Tommy's take, who's been apathetic toward it. We'll see if he liked it at all. We'll be back. More Sports Daily. Albrecht and Castor, don't go away.
A mourning widow sells her husband's car trying to move on, but the checks came back in his name.
How do they expect him to cash his check?
Looking for answers, fact finder Brandon Stitt went to the Department of Revenue. A proposed energy plan that threatens Kansas landowners, meaning some families could lose their homes.
My land is not for sale. Others' land is not for sale. Our lifestyle is not for sale.
12 News took their concerns to Senators Marshall and Moran. When you need answers, turn to the fact finders for help. Right. Start your day with 12 News this morning. Get ready with Jake's accurate hour-by-hour forecast, so you'll know if you need a jacket when you walk out the door, or an umbrella by lunch. Start your day knowing what happened overnight and what's happening now. Live, breaking news all morning long. And plan the best route to work and school with traffic from across Kansas. Start your day right. Start your day with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSEW.
Hey, Wichita, Jim Rome here, celebrating over 25 years as the #1 midday sports talk show on Wichita Radio. Find out why. Tune into The Jungle, weekdays 11 until 2 on 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With more than 25 flavors, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day for half-price cups of tea. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
Clouds are not just the canvas of our imagination. They tell a story. Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
When you need help, remember, you're not alone. We are here. We are neighbors. We are together. We are Kansas. We are 12 News.
They say it takes a village. Come together and support local businesses in our neighborhoods. When you contribute to local shops, more money goes back into the economy. Shopping local makes our state stronger. So give back to the communities you love and watch our businesses and communities thrive. Shop local and be Kansas proud.
At 12 News, we know you're busy, which is why we're here whenever you need us. Anytime, any screen. With live breaking news.
Critically hurt after an apartment.
Storm Team 12 forecast.
Snowing for many miles.
And the stories you don't want to miss.
The scene's still very active.
Just
right
search KWCH 12 News wherever you stream and catch up on the latest news of the day. All for free and on your schedule, hopefully making your day a little bit easier. And did I mention the Storm Team 12 forecast? 12 News whenever you want.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With more than 25 flavors, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day for half-price cups of tea. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
Determining fact from fiction. That's our full-time job.
You need to have someone give you the whole story from every side.
To help you when no one else is listening.
You need someone to put you first.
That's what we do.
We bring you the facts first.
When you need it.
Wherever you are.
12 News. Facts first.
Want to listen on the go? Just download the Odyssey app, search KFH. You can find this show. You can find all our great programming. You can find tonight the Chris Kleiman show right here on KFH. That starts at 7 o'clock, or of course, on the Odyssey app. Tommy, we had Braun and Bronny last night. I wasn't like tuning in to the whole game or anything like that, but I did go find the moment where they both came into the game at the same time. I did find the moment where LeBron kind of hyped up and kind of gave a real quick pep talk to his son. And it was, I thought that was really cool. That was not team. That was like dad looking out for son. Like, you ready for this? Like, I liked it. I thought they did a good job with it. I love that the Griffeys were there. I'm glad they got him in the game. I like seeing historical stuff like that. And it's just like, man, as a dad, it's pretty hard to not think that's good stuff.
I had this realization, and I know I've been apathetic towards Bronny joining the Lakers. And really, like, it's easy to be apathetic because you look at the stat line and he did
not going to do much.
He's not very good, So, so I had this realization though when this moment was going on, and I still don't particularly care all that much, but I understand what the purpose is now when I didn't understand it before. This is a way for the Lakers to make sure that LeBron stays really engaged. And it's not even like that. And that's been pretty, the whole him staying with the Lakers in general, that's been on the table for a long time as a storyline, but it's even more than that. It's about him being engaged and him being the best version of himself. And if he's got to find, I mean, LeBron has done everything in his career that anybody could ever do, right? He's accomplished everything. He holds all the records. He's won all the championships, MVPs, you name it. He's done it. But this was something yet he hadn't done. And being able to be on the same team with his son, I would imagine, because we saw it last night, there's that potential on the table that the guy is even more locked in than he ever has been, because this is something new. And it's hard to find something new for a guy that's 39, that's played in the league for over 2 decades.
And who is either the first or second best player anybody's ever seen, depending on how you rank it. And the other thing about LeBron, and I don't follow the cultural side of it as much as I did when I was younger, which is basically not, as far as I know and as far as I've ever been able to tell, LeBron James has always been a world-class dad, like from the get-go. And he continues to do that. And I think you see those moments and it reminds you of that. And the older you get, I do think you appreciate that stuff more, especially if you get the good fortune to be a dad. And so, yeah, I'm in on that storyline this year. I think it's really cool. I don't think it's going to hold the Lakers back in any way from what they will or won't do this season as a team to have Bronny on that roster. And so I've been in on it. It will be very fun to watch. It will be compelling. It will be compelling when inevitably LeBron gets on to Bronny for something he did on the court, just like he would any young player. Like, that stuff's going to be really interesting to see. We had the Olympics to remind us of LeBron's passion for the game. And whatever you think about LeBron, and most of the time people just get annoyed with not the things he's doing on the court. Like, we've been fortunate to have him in the game of basketball. He's so good. And he's been so good for so long. I'm happy to see father-son stuff like that. I think it's cool. I think it's fun. I mean, the Lakers aren't going to win anything this year, but that will give us a reason and a storyline to follow in the NBA. I think it's cool. And I think it's cool that the Griffeys were there. And I think it's cool that we got to see it, because the likelihood of it happening in any sport are so low. Maybe we'll get to see it with Tiger. Maybe. But I don't know that we're going to have another chance other than that, right? It's not going to happen in football. Basketball is really unlikely. Maybe we get it with Tiger. We got it with Griffey. I don't know. It just seems unlikely. I think it's really cool. Mike says, this is a good point. Mike says he'd rather see them play against each other. That actually would be pretty cool. I'll give you that, Mike. Like that would be pretty interesting to see them go head to head. Maybe they will. Maybe LeBron just loves it so much that he'll go somewhere else to win a title, and they will go head to head at some point. That'd be pretty funny. All right, we'll come back. We'll tell you what's on the network today when we wrap up Sports Daily next.
A mourning widow sells her husband's car trying to move on, but the checks came back in his name.
How do they expect him to cash his check?
Looking for answers, fact finder Brandon Stitt went to the Department of Revenue. A proposed energy plan that threatens Kansas landowners, meaning some families could lose their homes.
My land is not for sale. Others' land is not for sale. Our lifestyle is not for sale.
12 News took their concerns to Senators Marshall and Moran. When you need answers, turn to the fact finders for help. Right. Start your day with 12 News this morning. Get ready with Jake's accurate hour-by-hour forecast, so you'll know if you need a jacket when you walk out the door or an umbrella by lunch. Start your day knowing what happened overnight and what's happening now. Live, breaking news all morning long. And plan the best route to work and school with traffic from across Kansas. Start your day right. Start your day with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSEW.
Hey, Wichita, Jim Rome here, celebrating over 25 years as the #1 midday sports talk show on Wichita Radio. Find out why. Tune into The Jungle, weekdays 11 until 2 on 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With more than 25 flavors, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day for half-price cups of tea. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
Clouds are not just the canvas of our imagination. They tell a story. Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
When you need help, remember, you're not alone. We are here. We are neighbors. We are together. We are Kansas. We are 12 News.
They say it takes a village. Come together and support local businesses in our neighborhoods. When you contribute to local shops, more money goes back into the economy. Shopping local makes our state stronger. So give back to the communities you love and watch our businesses and communities thrive. Shop local and be Kansas proud.
At 12 News, we know you're busy, which is why we're here whenever you need us. Anytime, any screen. With live breaking news.
Critically hurt after an apartment.
Storm Team 12 forecast.
Snowing for many miles.
And the stories you don't want to miss.
The scene's still very active.
Just search KWCH 12 News wherever you stream and catch up on the latest news of the day. All for free and on your schedule, hopefully making your day a little bit easier. And did I mention the Storm Team 12 forecast? 12 News whenever you want.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With more than 25 flavors, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day for half-price cups of tea. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
Determining fact from fiction. That's our full-time job.
You need to have someone give you the whole story from every side.
To help you when no one else is listening.
You need someone to put you first.
That's what we do.
We bring you the facts first.
When you need it.
Wherever you are.
12 News. Facts first.
That's it for us, Tommy. Get you some Hawaiians.
The only way that I'm actually going to feel like you are dedicated to Hawaiian Shirt Wednesdays is if you wear it on the news. I need you to like rock it on a newscast.
I'm not
like,
allowed.
Maybe throw a tie there, put a jacket over. I mean, like you could do that.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to do that. I wore it when I went to the Super Bowl in Miami. And I'll tell you, if you need us to expand to more than just Hawaiian Shirt Wednesdays so that you can join in on the fun, if we need to make this a 2-day-a-week thing, we can do that.
I'm not sure Wichita's ready for that.
Yeah, probably not. All right, Chris Kleiman show tonight at 7, regular programming. Bob and Jeff locally 2 to 4. For Jad, Tommy, I'm Jacob. See you tomorrow.